I first heard about them through Howard Gale. Obviously, I know Howie from playing football, and Howie was the first black player to play for Liverpool. And he was actually brought up about 100 yards from here, which is unusual in Norris Green. He was one of the first black families here, so he has a real affinity with his community. And he told me about a group of women who are really trying to make a difference in the community, because of course, when you have a lot of foster carers, foster kids who are in the system, they get funded, they get looked after, whereas kinship carers look after kids who aren't in the system. And it's so difficult because if you're not in the system, you can't get funding. It's a bit of a vicious circle. How do you get into the system? So they have their issues, but they do such good jobs. And it's mainly just the women in the community who have nieces and nephews and friends' nieces and nephews who are disadvantaged, and they just want to do something to help them. So this is the second time I've visited, so I'm going to try and come down more and maybe do a little bit more in terms of raising the profile, because that's what we're here to do. In fact, I saw Kinship's carers on breakfast television this morning. They do such good work. They volunteer, and they just really want to help the disadvantaged kids in the area, and they need more help. I've got 7 kids of my own, and I'm very fortunate, and my children are fortunate because they have been in an environment which has afforded them the opportunity to become. I've got 2 doctors and a banker, and I know that my kids would just be like these kids if they weren't given the same opportunity. And I also know that these kids here, given my kids opportunity, will have the potential. They have the potential to do that. So we have to really try and create an environment to help for these kids to maximize their potential. And it's easy for us to judge either kids in the system or kids who aren't in the system because of the problems they have, mental health issues, behavioral problems, and we go, oh, they're just naughty kids. But I know that my kids could be exactly the same if they were exposed to what these kids are exposed to, and vice versa. But in life, generally, you can look at, and I'm doing a lot on inclusion, I'm doing a lot on racism and stuff, and this is a learned trait, depending on where you're from and how you've been actually brought up. We're a product of our environment. So, and I'm a big believer in that. And if we can create a better environment, then we'll create better kids.